Happy Earth Day, everyone. In this update, we're going to be talking about the calm before the storm as we have several nice days ahead of really nice weather for a good part of the country. But then all eyes will be trending out west with our next storm system starting to build. That will move across the middle of the country, likely bringing multiple days of severe storms starting on Thursday all the way into your Sunday timeframe. So if we take a look at the overall outlook this morning, we can actually see some pretty chilly, cooler conditions for much of the east. Many of these areas are waking up with frost advisories back into the Ohio Valley or further south into Kentucky, all the way into Tennessee. Definitely some cooler April-like conditions, but you can see where the trend is. We do have the ridge starting to build. I think Phoenix actually hit their first triple digit of the season yesterday. They're going for another 100-degree day today with the ridge likely starting to build in. Over the top, we do have a little bit of instability that will be diving out of Canada. That will be moving east-southeast bound, bringing some elevated showers, falling into those chillier rain over the next couple of days. But then there's our storm system that's starting to build out west, and then another storm system that will follow, that will move across into the middle of the country, bringing that severe storms starting off on Thursday all the way through into your Sunday. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. If you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily updates on this channel, and I would love to reach 250,000 subscribers. You can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily breakdowns. So here's the setup as we head into tomorrow. There's that little bit of vorticity that will be coming out of Canada. That will be moving east-southeast bound, so bringing some light showers for those areas back into Wisconsin, as well as into Michigan, portions of, Illinois, as well as into Ohio. Just light showers, nothing severe out of this activity, but it's going to fall into that cooler air, and that's going to be kind of a chillier rain, really, for the next couple of days, especially Monday through your Wednesday. But then there's a system that will be starting to come together out west, and then we have another system that will be trailing behind it. So all these are going to be impacting with a short wave, and then a main trough that will be coming in across the middle of the country that will highlight very activity for severe storms. So going into Tuesday, there's the system. So we got that little system that's coming out of Canada that dives east-southeast bound. That's bringing some light showers along with it. So those areas into Wisconsin, parts of Michigan here, further south into Missouri, as well as into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Not expecting really much from this activity. Look what's off the East Coast, folks. That's a 992 millibar low pressure. And hey, we're getting close to hurricane season. Some model guidance is actually hinting at this could actually possibility become subtropical storm Alberto. That's not out of the question. Likely won't impacting land, but model guidance is actually fairly bullish on this system. If it does, in fact, spin up tropical type like characteristics, they would actually named the first named storm of the season heading out into the open waters of the Atlantic. But back behind it, there you got the system that's coming in from the east-southeast direction, bringing those light showers back into play into New York, as well as into Vermont, New Hampshire, those areas into Connecticut, back into Massachusetts, and just again some light showers swinging through Kentucky, heading into Tennessee. That would be your Wednesday morning time frame. So a good part of the country is really experiencing some really nice conditions. It's definitely cooler out east, those areas into Virginia, and then even further south as well, much of the east. But the big warm up is trending out west, and that'll eventually impact the middle part of the country, where a big warm up is set to take shape going into your Thursday. And that's the beginning stages of our severe storm. So you got the trough will be finally moving out over the east. This ridge will replace those cooler anomalies, and much of the middle part of the country warms up in a big fashion. So you are expecting some cooler conditions now, but it'll slowly start to tick up. So as soon as the southwest winds kind of kick in, much of the middle part of the country, from the southern plains to the central to the Great Lakes, all the way up into the upper Midwest, northwest here. And then there's our trough that will be coming in. That's going to bring some cooler conditions. So that'll knock down those hundreds down into Phoenix. Not much rain with this activity, but nonetheless, that will be bringing the trough in and setting the stage for a dynamic, dry line type system setup. Here's your overall dew point temperature anomalies. And I kind of blew up the type and the date, so it's a lot easier to read for you. But yeah, look at the surge, right? So this is where most of the moisture is coming into play. It's really right centered across the middle of the country, from Texas to Oklahoma to Kansas, through Nebraska, all the way through the Dakotas, back into Minnesota, into Iowa, as well as into Missouri, back into Arkansas, into Louisiana. So there's your dry line as we head into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening time frame. Likely, classic dry line type setup where we could see isolated supercells start to bubble up along this dry line in the far west Texas, and closer to where the low pressure is. That's where you have the possibility of the greatest spin and the possibility of seeing a tornado or two. So here's where the Storm Prediction Center is highlighted right now. They put out this risk a couple of days ago, and they haven't really moved it, and I don't think it's going to move that much at all. We should see some supercells start to form, likely into the heat of the afternoon, going into that 5, 6, 7 o'clock time frame on Thursday, in far northwest portions of Texas, say like the Wichita Falls region, the Childress region, and as well as into western Oklahoma, western Kansas. The closer you are with that low pressure center, the greater the possibility of shear at the surface. So you have some rotating supercells, increases the probability of seeing a tornado or two, especially within Kansas and far northern portions of Oklahoma during the evening time frame on Thursday. So there's your CAPE values, your convective available potential energy in the atmosphere, starting to take advantage of some of those higher dew points. You got the warm sector. Most of these areas are back into the 80s by then again. And that will be activating the dry line as that low pressure starts to continue to deepen as we head into Thursday night, going into Friday. Then as we head into Friday, most ensemble guidance is pretty on par with this, as a rapidly deepening low pressure center will continue to deepen up towards Nebraska, back into southeastern portions of South Dakota. This is almost like an identical type setup than what we saw last week with that system highlighted southeast of Iowa there, back into the Des Moines region, southeastern portions of Des Moines, back into Missouri, and then further south into Kansas, into Oklahoma, and then portions of Texas would kind of get the tail end of this system. So here's the overall water vapor, feeding into this storm. So there's the low pressure setting up shop across northwestern portions of Nebraska, swinging into southeastern portions of South Dakota, and then further south, there's the feeding into that low-level jet. That's where we have some pretty intense rain, actually, far northwest portions of Texas, likely eastern portions of Oklahoma, and then some of those could be some spin-up supercells. So yes, we are talking about all three modes of severe storms. Likely Friday would be a higher impact day than Thursday, and even Saturday I think is even a higher impact day. So on Friday, there's the system more elongated, especially further north, going into Iowa, back into Missouri. And this is where the Storm Prediction Center is right now. So the closer you are with that low pressure, the more activity you're likely going to be. So your favorite areas of seeing the most bullish activity as far as severe storms are going to be in Iowa as well as into Missouri, especially the northern half of Missouri. And then further south as you head into eastern portions of Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, and their far north portions of North Texas would get the tail end of this system, fighting probably a capping inversion by then. And then as this swings across, it's got, again, it really highlights across the middle part. It doesn't continue to move off to the east. It's mainly confined to the middle part of the country. So you got high levels of water content feeding into that system. So flash flooding is also a huge concern, especially in northeastern portions of Texas into eastern portions of Oklahoma. This looks to be the favored area to seeing the most heaviest rainfall with this system on Friday. But there's going into your surface map, with that dynamic low pressure center continue to, rapidly deepening to the north of there, you're going to get some heavier rain. So this is not going to be severe back into the Dakotas, further north of this low pressure, as well as into Minnesota. But you are going to get some heavier downpours with this particular system. And of course, further south where you start to see the darker greens show up, that's an indication of some heavier, more intense rainfall rates, likely leading to some flash flooding as we head into Friday night. But it doesn't end there, folks. We even have a little bit more potent system that will be coming in. So we have, yes, another dynamic trough, a little bit more vorticity coming back, tapping into the warm sector, back into Texas. And since you're really not been disrupted, there's areas in Texas on Thursday and Friday, I think you get the main system on Saturday for those areas, because you definitely have a lot more Cape value to work with back into North Texas and to Central Texas. So yes, those are going to be a favorite area, as well as into Oklahoma again, and back into southeastern portions of Kansas, as well as into Missouri and back into portions of Arkansas. There's where the Storm Prediction Center, as of right now, this is not until Saturday, so we're talking a ways out. But the dynamics are there to favorability right over Dallas, right over northwestern portions of Texas, much of Oklahoma, and a good part of Kansas. And that would likely extend into Missouri, back into Arkansas again during the day on Saturday. So if we break this thing down for you, it shows you where we're at between the overall, GFS ensembles, the overall learning guidance, and where the Storm Prediction Center is highlighted right now, highlighting that right there, far northwest portions of Texas, western Oklahoma, far southern portions of Kansas, with the main bullish activity. Could see some larger hail and some tornadic spin-up tornadoes during that dry line activity event heading into Thursday night. And then heading into Friday, it gets a little bit more elongated and puts the instability, more widespread instability, from Iowa going into Missouri, all the way down into portions of Arkansas. So we'll be fine-tuning this event as we get closer, but you can see it's definitely getting a lot more active, especially as we head towards the end of the week, because there's that system coming in on Saturday with another potent vorticity coming back into play, puts over again the same areas for Oklahoma, back into Kansas, and back into northern portions of Texas here. And even on Sunday, we could be looking at even more storms that come across. So it's going to be very active, especially across the middle of the country. And if we look at the overall precipitation totals, over the next 7 days, you can see what we're working with. We have multiple systems, coming in off the west. But it's not going to bring much rain associated with it, as highlighted over the Intermountain West. There are going to be, starting to cool off a little bit, comparative to those triple digits you're likely going to see for yesterday and today. But once you hit the dry line and just east, likely of the I-35 corridor, that's where things kind of blow up. And then you're looking at some heavier rains on top of this. So this is your rainfall precipitation over the next week. So yes, some of these areas could easily pick up multiple inches of rain, if not 6 to 8 inches of rain in some of these isolated spots, especially in the northeastern portions of Texas, as well as into eastern Oklahoma. But you can see where all the rain is, and more or less where all the red is highlighted over the southern, central, as well as in portions of the upper Midwest. There's actually not much activity at all as for portions of the southeast, and definitely lighter amounts for those areas across the northeast, where you're going to be welcoming some drier conditions kind of moving into your area. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update, why I protect you before and after the storm.